Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
We gather here tonight to bring women back to their rightful place.
The Testaments, a new Hulu original series from the executive producers of The Handmaid's Tale.
It's easier to accept a story than believe that the people around you are monsters.
The battle isn't over.
There comes a time when you have to take action, when you have to choose your own destiny.
Never quite as it seems. Watch the new Hulu original series, The Testaments, streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply.
Welcome back, True Crime Army. I am your host, Margot, and this is Military Murder, a show where I discuss cases involving military members and veterans, all with one goal in mind, to remind you to remain vigilant always. Hi, everyone. I hope that you are all having a great summer. So listen, today I am bringing you a mini case. And it's a mini case that is an update to a case that I have been following since early on. And now there is officially a break in the case, and I want to tell you all about it. Join me today as I give you a case update on the case of Gregory Morales, and that case is out of Fort Hood. Now, let's dig in.
Military murder is an independent project and is not endorsed by the Department of Defense or any military component. The views expressed are those of the host. The content of this podcast is not meant to be legal or medical advice. Warning, this episode contains graphic details of murder and is not suitable for young listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
For those of you with me for the better part of 6 years, the case of 23-year-old Private Gregory Morales felt like one of those Fort Hood mysteries that would never get real answers. Gregory was last seen on August 19th, 2019, driving near Killeen in his own vehicle. He was reported missing on the 23rd of August, just days before he was supposed to be discharged from the Army at Fort Hood. And interestingly, Gregory's car was towed to a local auto dealership on August 27th, after it had been found abandoned in a restaurant parking lot. But the discovery of Greg's new vehicle didn't occur by chance. You see, months after his disappearance, his wife went on Carfax to see if she could find Greg's car. And boom, sure enough, as reported by KSENT TV, she saw that the car had been sent to Dallas in December of 2019 to be inspected and was transferred back to the Killeen, Fort Hood area in January of 2020. At the time, Greg's disappearance was clouded by confusion and frustration because the Army initially listed him as AWOL, which stands for absent without leave. And they listed him as AWOL even though Greg's family insisted that that label made absolutely no sense to them. Gregory was in the process of leaving the service. He was supposed to be out. Why would he just vanish, his family thought. And according to the people who knew him best, he would not have simply vanished without telling anyone. There was some suspicion surrounding Gregory's wife as well around the time, something about his car, but really, Gregory being listed as missing was not beneficial to his wife in any way. Well, on June 21st, 2020, nearly 10 months after Gregory disappeared, investigators found skeletal remains in a field near the 3200 block of Florence Road in Killeen, Texas. At the time of the discovery of these remains, you might recall that Fort Hood was under a microscope because Vanessa Guillen had been missing for nearly 2 months, and her family was standing outside of the gate demanding that the Army return Vanessa to them. So when those remains were found near Killeen, everyone imagined that it could possibly be Vanessa. However, those remains were quickly identified as belonging to Gregory Morales, which bolstered Greg's family's initial sentiment that he didn't just disappear. But the thing is that at first, the public details about what could have led to Greg's death were thin. Clearly, anyone with any amount of common sense figured that he had been murdered. But common sense isn't always so common. And despite the initial evidence, the Army refused to change Greg's status from AWOL until the formal autopsy, which in their defense is fair. Eventually, authorities said foul play was suspected, and the autopsy made it clear. Gregory died from a gunshot wound to the head, and his manner of death was ruled a homicide. But despite this ruling, for a very long time, that was basically all the information we had. There was a missing soldier, a body in a field, and a case that publicly at least seemed to go cold. But now, 7 years after Gregory's disappearance and 6 years since his body was discovered, investigators say they have identified 2 men they believe were responsible for Gregory's murder. Their names are Darius DeMarcus Nobles and Darion Laquan Brown. In late December 2025, the Bell County District Attorney's Office accepted the case, and both of these men were charged with murder. Brown was served with a warrant while already in custody on unrelated charges, which included a parole violation, and Nobles was later arrested in Harris County by the U.S. Marshals Task Force in February of 2026. Now, here is where the story gets especially interesting, because for the first time, we have at least a possible explanation for why Gregory was killed. According to arrest affidavits summarized in recent reporting, 27-year-old Brown allegedly told investigators that he and 28-year-old Nobles were affiliated with a gang and that they had been instructed to kill Gregory as a way to, quote, put in work, end quote. Brown allegedly said he acted as the lookout while Nobles shot Gregory in the head with a 9mm handgun. Now, that phrase, put in work, it's critical here. In gang-related investigations, it usually refers to committing a violent act, often to prove loyalty, also to earn status, or to retaliate, or even to carry out just an order, all in connection to your gang. So the broad theory investigators appear to be working from is that Gregory's killing was not random. It was allegedly a gang-directed murder. But here's the part we still do not fully know. Why Gregory? How were these men even associated with him? That answer is still murky from what I read. And the affidavits, at least as summarized publicly, do not clearly explain whether Gregory had a personal conflict with these men, whether he was targeted because of a dispute involving someone else who may have been a part of this gang or at least closely related, or whether Gregory was seen as someone the gang wanted retaliated against for reasons that have not yet been made public. One report says a third party told investigators that Nobles and Brown wanted to travel to Killeen to, quote, retaliate against Gregory Morales at the request of another individual, end quote. But the reporting does not identify who that individual was, what prompted the retaliation, or what Gregory had allegedly done. So in terms of motive, as of this recording, we have a framework, but not the full picture. Now, how did investigators get here after all of this time? Apparently, the break in the case came through a combination of phone evidence, witness statements, and firearm forensics.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking, maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
According to reporting cited by Stars and Stripes, Gregory's phone records led investigators to one of the last phone numbers that had contacted him. That number was connected to a stolen phone tied back to a woman in San Angelo. That woman later told investigators she had heard that 2 men known as Cash and D had to, quote, take someone out, end quote, and that the stolen phone had been left with a body. Investigators later identified those nicknames as Cash and D as referring to Brown and Nobles, who were in their early 20s at the time. And then came the physical evidence. In June of 2024, investigators found a spent 9mm shell casing near the area where Gregory's remains had been discovered. Now, mind you, this shell casing appears to have been discovered 4 years after Greg's body was discovered. But that shell casing was later tested by the Army Criminal Investigative Laboratory, and according to reports, it matched the firearm that had been recovered years earlier during an unrelated September 2019 arrest in San Saba County. During that arrest in 2019, Nobles reportedly claimed ownership of that gun. Wow. Now, that's a huge development because it's one thing to have rumors and witness tips. It's another thing to connect a suspect murder weapon to the crime scene through ballistic testing. And not just that, initially, I was a bit suspect of the June 2024 discovery, realizing that a defense attorney could drive a few hundred Mack trucks through that gap. So let's think about it. Greg disappeared in August of 2019. His body was recovered or discovered in June of 2020, and the discovery of this shell casing occurred in June of 2024. I mean, that is a huge gap. But if investigators had access to the gun in September of 2019 and never, in fact, released it from their custody, and now they have newly discovered shell casings that match that gun, then that's a good thing. Well, that's not all, because investigators say that Brown eventually gave them even more helpful information. Reporting indicates that Brown was interviewed in March of 2024, 3 months before that shell casing was found. At first, Brown denied involvement with Greg's case, but then he changed his story, and he changed his story more than once, I might add. Eventually, according to the affidavits, Brown admitted he was present when Greg was murdered, and he personally served as the lookout while Nobles pulled the trigger. Nobles, meanwhile, reportedly admitted that the gun was his, but denied shooting Gregory. Whether he pulled the trigger or said he pulled the trigger is unknown to me, but it's very interesting because of the felony murder rule. In the case of someone who is charged with felony murder, who pulls the trigger isn't as important as who was present and ready to commit a felony that eventually led to a murder. So where does that leave the case today? As for Nobles, the formal indictment came down in early May 2026. His arraignment is scheduled for June, and a pretrial hearing is tentatively scheduled for June 30th. At this point, both Nobles and Brown have been charged, but the case is not yet over. Investigators have reportedly said the case remains active, and they have also said that additional suspects have not been ruled out. That means there may still be other people involved, whether in planning, directing, or helping cover up the crime. And that, to me, is one of the biggest takeaways here today. You see, for years, Gregory Morales' case sat in the background of the broader Fort Hood scandals and tragedies. He was one of several soldiers whose names became attached to serious concerns about Fort Hood, about accountability, and about how missing service members were handled. But now, finally, Greg's case is moving. There are arrests, there is a theory, and there is actual evidence in the public record. Still, the most haunting question remains unanswered. What exactly happened in Gregory's final hours, and why was he the one who had to die? Hopefully, as this case moves toward court, we'll learn more about it. Now, before I end this quick update, I did want to close the loop on Gregory's wife, Penny Morales. A few years after Greg's body was discovered, she personally got into some trouble. And a recent Stars and Stripe report indicates that back in 2023, Penny was convicted of aggravated robbery and sentenced to 7 years in a Texas prison. Thank you so much, True Crime Army, for joining me for this mini episode. I am so glad that there is finally some movement in Gregory's case. If there were others involved, I hope that justice seeks them out and finds them as well. I will keep you all posted when there is some sort of conclusion to this case. My sources for this episode include articles written in Stars and Stripes, KSENT, Fox 44, Army Times, and KWTX. Military Murder is a Mamo Margot production. The music was created by Ty-Ops. Until next time, remember, you never really know what someone is capable of, so remain vigilant always. You have a fabulous week, and I'll keep digging to bring you another military murder story next time.
Mama's working on her podcast. I don't want to.